talking to somebody and they're like, why do you always do the horn thing?
Yeah.
Grabs your attention, gets you all crazy.
Stop them from scroll. Stop them.
Stop the scroll. Stop.
What are we doing?
Stop. So today, when is the housing market going to crash? That search term in Google has gone up 2,400%, 2,450% to be exact,
Right.
in the last 30 days, in the last month. So what is going to happen in the future and what you can do about it?
Yeah. How do you prepare? I think looking back at different scenarios and situations like, the Great Recession or the lockdowns and shutdowns from COVID, it's always interesting to think, what would I do differently knowing what I know now, And so that's what we want to talk about as far as, this particular subject is concerned. And when I saw that, I couldn't help but think that is what the consumers would want, because they're so sick of losing out on deals. They're so sick of like the prices going up, like 10% is what I read in that particular article year over year. And it said it was the biggest increase in prices since 2006, which is right before things started to crash. But I don't think we're going to see a big crash this time necessarily. I think it's a different environment and different situation they're causing, these things to happen. And I think that inventory is going to have an answer before we see, some kind of huge downward trend of house prices or inventory shooting up. What do you think?
I agree. I think the people want it that are buying houses, and investors would desperately want it, right? Like I've heard people over the past, probably even before COVID, right? Like, market's cyclical, it's got to come back down at some point, right? When it was like, hey, these things are crazy, but then prices, inventory, but just the reasoning's different. You know what I mean? Like the last time everybody was over leveraged in their cases, like, if you watch The Big Short, that was very eye-opening for me on some of the things that had to happen. Also the Bailout HBO special.
Yeah.
That's a great movie to watch too. But it was just the banks were doing crazy, shady stuff, right? And that isn't the case right now. And in the policies that are in place, just from a financial economy type perspective, are just way more protecting the consumer from fallout of mass, like shadow inventory that people have talked about. But I think it's just going to be a leveling out. I don't think it's going to crash back down in terms of prices. I think a lot of markets will just get to the point where it's not going to grow too much, because some markets are just not sustainable, right? Like,
yeah.
I was looking at my Zestimate.
Right.
Very accurate tool. Like, I'm going to
it's not, I mean, in some markets it's better than others.
Right. Yeah. But DFW, ours isn't too far off, to be fair. But it's gone up 12.6% of my home value in the last 30 days. Insane, right? Like, that's an insane year, much less 30 days.
Yeah, my home value was inflated by a couple $100,000 on Zillow's estimate. So I was like, when I heard that they were going to roll out, they'll buy it for the estimate price. I was like, ooh, that's going to be good. Even if they discount it by 10%, I'll be fine.
Right.
They were so far off percentage wise. I mean, it just wasn't even funny, but
yeah. But I think people, you're naturally going to have people searching this, and this is something that you're going to have to deal with, and something that we've talked about in the past. Like, the more just outrageously transparent you are with your clients, right? And like the other thing is coming from a place of just trying to help them, and that transparency gets you. It might bust you a deal right now because it's not what they wanted to hear. But then when they go around and realize that everybody else in town is telling them the same thing, as long as you're up to date, because this market is constantly, like, I feel like there's something new, crazy happening all the time.
Yeah.
Like, inventory is lower, offers are getting crazier. Some of the Facebook groups that I'm a part of, like the screenshots of some of the offer, like, inclusions and stuff.
Yeah.
There was one locally that was a 4-month lease back for free as part of the offer. So seeing stuff like that, it's important to be in the know, but then just be outrageously transparent with your people. And like, there's probably not a crash coming, but.
Well, I was reading the other day about all of the forbearance and that coming due, and some of the things that the CFPB has put out, in order to mitigate the possibility of more, a wave of foreclosures, right? And the fact that they even have to do that is concerning. And they're putting these things in place, but what if they don't work? What if there is a crash? It is unsustainable what we're kind of dealing with right now. Based on my personal opinion, if there is a crash, what do you do? And if there's not, what do you do? There's a lot of people that aren't making money in this market right now because they don't have any inventory to sell, and it's very frustrating. We're both in a lot of real estate groups on Facebook, and we read some of these people's posts, and they're like, "Why would an agent do this?" They said we were the first in line. Pardon me, I don't have the heart to tell my buyer this is the 6th or 7th house that they've lost. We were, 40,000 overpriced, over asking, no contingencies, this, that, and the other. And so, a lot of frustration out there from that perspective. What do you do in that regard? And we were going over this morning, Jake, in our marketing huddle, which is an internal huddle for the way that we market Market Maker. And Chance brought up a slide deck, which is something that we, spoke about in the past. But he was refreshing us like, hey, we should do more of this. And you're like, yeah, we should do more of this. I'm like, well, we're doing that. And you're like, no, well, and I'm like, I'm all grumpy, long day, long night. And I'm like, Jake, stop, don't be pushing back. But you're right.
No semantics here.
What's that?
I said no semantics here.
Right. And that's exactly what it was. But you were spot on. And so was he. And the gist of it is this. Regardless of the market, strong agents who focus on really outcompeting in the realm of marketing. And marketing is just really sales in print, right? Or in different forms of media to get people to come to you, to see you as an expert in the marketplace, to position yourself as, the person that they have to call. I even if you're just in the top 3, right? Like, most people, especially if they're listing, if they're going to interview 3 people. Why 3? I don't know why 3. Somebody decided a long time ago, right? Like, if you're going to get a roof job done, interview 3 contractors. I guess that's a magic number.
You can't have a couple.
Yeah, even if you're in the top 3, they're going to consider you. And so, what do you do, right? Like, how do you make sure that you do that? And the specific metric that we're going over, I saw you were making some notes there. Do you want to share it?
I drew.
Oh yeah, that. First class, bro. Break it down.
So it's a pie, right?
Yeah.
And that says 3%, but I wrote it on a Sharpie on a napkin. So
it looks like 36 or kind of a glob. But anyway,
it's 3%. But that represents,
that pie graph for people who are listening on podcasts instead of watching.
Yeah. So this is the whole pie, right? So it's just a small sliver of the 3% that need to do business right now. And so when you're generating leads, you're going to find people that are 3 months out, 6 months out, 12 months out. But guess what? And things to do to prepare, like, make sure that you have a consistent flow of buyers and sellers coming into your database, because you're going to need both down the road, and you might need one more than the other. So you need to be prepared for either scenario, is number one. But everybody, I put this in a webinar we did one time where it was like, everybody goes after the 3%. Right?
Everybody, they all go after the now business. And the problem is, if you have, 1,000 agents in 2,000 transactions a year, I'll just use some easy math, and all of those 1,000 agents are going after the now business, the 3%, except for the top ones, because the top ones know better. The top ones know that there is no competition in the people who are moving 6 months out. There's no competition in the people who are moving 12 months out. And 6 months, 12 months going to be here before you know it. So those are the people that you spend your time, effort, energy, marketing, sending content to, right? Those are the people who are going to make your business, make your career, elevate you the next year. But everybody's so focused on the instant gratification that they're like, well, where can I spend $1 right now to get back $1.10? How about I spend $1 right now to get back $10, right? If I just wait another few months.
So if you think about it as in like groups of 100 people, right?
Yes.
And there's 100 people, and they're in a they're at a conference, right? And then there's breakout rooms. And
Yes.
it's like 3 people are going to go into the I need help immediately room.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably another 20 are going to go into the I need help in the next 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
And then another 30 are going to go into the room that's like I need between 6 months and 12 months. And then the rest are going to go a year-ish plus.
Right.
What room are you going to go to? Because all of the real estate agents in your market are going to go into the room that there's 3 people, and you're going to fight over that with
the crumbs. Yeah, you're going to fight over the crumbs is what you're going to
right. So if you could have Kern always said it the best, right? And he's been preaching this for a long time. If you could just have 10% of any one of those,
other percentages, right? People are moving in 3
right.
months, 12
Would
months.
you want 10% of 3%? Would you want 10% of 30%? Or would you want 10% of,
7%, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's how you win the game long term. But it's just how we are programmed now is just now. I need it now. I need it now. I need it now. And it's just the nature of our society. I was a finance major at the University of Illinois, and I was in class one time, and this is a while ago, so don't quote me that this stat is still 100% efficient. But I could have.
Come on now, you just had another birthday. I mean,
it's actually a little bit worse, probably. I would guess it was like 15 years ago. So they said that the national savings rate in the United States was, guess how much?
$400.
Negative 1% of income.
Wow.
Because of debt, they actually accrued more debt than we saved as a country.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
Insane, right? So just overall, that's just how we're all programmed, right? Like, which is why so many people are paycheck to paycheck and in different situations and financially struggle and carry debt, right? Which is why Dave Ramsey has a whole following. Yeah. But if you could, right, plan for now and down the road, and I hate to plug us, but that's what we make sure that you do. Because a lot of times when it's left up to you, it's just so hard to not worry about right now when you got to pay bills and you got bills stacking up and you're worried about the income coming in, where that's where the consistency and old GC over there talking about, cash isn't king, cash flow is king.
Oh yeah.
Like you got to make sure you have a steady flow of income coming in. And the only way to do that is if you're doing this, which is taking care of now and down the road.
Right, which was our point with, essentially the marketing meeting today. Because I'm like, all right, well, we're murdering the top one, right? The now. And what you and Chance were saying was like, look, we need to have a longer term strategy for the future. And I'm like, well, we kind of got both. We're just not. What did you say? Very deliberate or purposeful on the database, long term. Basically collecting more people to tune into us on a regular basis as far as what you would call leads, right? More leads. Right. Yeah.
And actually like intentional, right? So like fitting your profile,
I see profile. Yeah, I'll never forget there was a marketing piece that Dan Kennedy had done for real estate agents a while back. And on the brochure itself were a lot of doctors, and I'm like, why are there a lot of doctors on this? And I can't remember who I was looking at with, but they broke it down. They're like, well, in that market, they serve a lot of the hospital, and the doctors are really their best ideal client profile. So they wanted pictures of the people who they wanted to serve, so that when they looked at it, they could identify with it and be like, oh yeah, that's me. I should reach out to that real estate agent, which is just another, good piece of marketing. I think a lot of the confusion and difficulty with the strategy, besides the delayed gratification, is understanding how it works and understanding why you're doing this now for later. But once you have a database that is really primed and well communicated with, you'll never have a situation where you don't have levers to pull, right? Like to hit the numbers that are the goals for even a quarterly basis, right? If you're behind this quarter, okay, well, next quarter, we'll increase our communication with the database via email or survey or shake the trees, right? I mean, we do this, right? But it's something that is not deliberate on the real estate agent world, because a lot of times they don't want to send out information. And the other thing is too, the 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. In the past, like I was taught, A leads, B leads, C leads, right? And why they were A, B, or C. It's just a gut reaction. Like when you talk to them, like, I don't think this person's really good. So I'm going to put them in the C category, which means that I'll follow up with them. Probably never, because nobody has the discipline to be like, okay, I'm going to call the C leads now, right? Just the A ones. And that's how the databases broke up in Market Maker. And that's how we got our clients. Like your communication strategy needs to be different based on the timing and motivation of these individuals that you have spoken to, that have identified themselves as somebody moving in 3 months or 6 months or 12 months, whether they're a buyer or a seller, right? And so, if the market turns and it shifts and becomes more of a buyer's market, guess what? You got plenty of people in those different buckets, right? That were 3 months, 6 months, 12 months out. Now you got something new to talk to them about. Plus you've had a communication strategy with them that really is based on, again, that motivation and timing, because like we always say, you can't change that, right? You can't change somebody's motivation and timing. They're going to move when they're going to move, especially if it's based on some kind of life situation, right? New job, divorce, new kid, empty nesters, right? And, I think, again, people don't understand that. They don't understand the strategy behind it. And so it's so hard when everybody has a system for billing you and you don't have a system for paying those bills yet. And you're trying to build one and you're looking at the money. I was talking to you the other day. I was like, why do you think agents buy billboards? Like, they don't buy a billboard with like I'm going to get all this money back, right? And if they do, they don't ever know how much it was or if it even worked. And you're like, for ego. And I said, yeah, for sure. But they're also expecting some type of return on their investment, right? They're expecting, hopefully, for the reputation to precede them when they walk into a listing appointment or they meet with a buyer. The problem is that strategy is old, it's antiquated, and the chances of that person driving by that billboard, unless you're in a really small town, right, in any kind of a consistent basis to where they actually see it, because we tune that stuff out now. There's so much coming at us, right? It's just slim to none. And I would joke about my first billboard, like nobody cared. People would be like, "Hey, I saw your billboard."
It's such a long play, and this is so funny because where you kind of got me to go full circle. Like we're probably two people that are in the upper part of my life that are hard on themselves, right?
Yeah, I'm very hard on myself.
In terms of like standards and like
Ryan just commented stacking cash. I know he is. He's got a massive database. I mean, he knows how to work it. He knows how to monetize it. But he also thinks that I'm not hard enough on myself. So that's why
he's constantly squeezing the database.
Yeah.
And I think that like for us, right? Like we come on here, like we've been doing it for like 3 years, dude.
We've been doing this that long?
Yeah, like I think it's coming up on 3 years pretty shortly.
Wow. I was so afraid the first time I got on.
Right? Like it's just part of the routine now. But like I talked to somebody this week that you've had that conversation many times where it's like, have we ever talked before? No. Do you know who I am? Yes. Okay. So there's something.
Yeah. Have you ever seen me on video? Yes, I have. How do you feel about that now that we're on the phone? Does it give you a positive emotion or a negative emotion? They're like, oh, positive for sure. And I'm like, that's what we're trying to do for you.
Right. You can't do that. Yeah. Right. They're like, oh, you're that Jake, like the horn guy. You know what I mean? Like, but between email and like, could we do a 1,000% better job? Yes. And that's why we're looking at it and Chance's bringing it up in meetings and stuff of like, we can be more intentional, but we are doing it. You know what I mean? Like we provide a pretty steady flow of income just from the long-term strategy of constantly staying in front of people that are in our database, right?
Yeah. Listen, it's not always easy. Sometimes I don't want to get on here, Jake. I know sometimes you don't want. Sometimes we decide the topic 5 minutes before we hop on. I would say about half the time. I'm like, Jake, what's the topic? I was thinking this. Okay, let's run with that. That's good. Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
But I mean, it's not because we're half-assing it. It's because we're talking to agents on a regular basis and we understand what they're dealing with. And so it's like, hey, this has come up more than once, especially you, Jake, because you're always hitting the sales team up. Like, what are you guys hearing? What's happening, right? You still are active in talking to a lot of agents, and so am I. I mean, I hop on with agents who have trouble, try to help them dial it in. It's very gratifying when like Michael Mahan, right? Like you just change their paradigm of perspective, and now 80-90% of his income is coming from us, right? And I'm not saying that to toot our own horn. That's to his credit because he understood what we were prescribing, and he believed in himself enough to say, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to stick it out, and I'm gonna invest in myself and invest in my business, and it's paid off. It's paid off in droves. In fact, he doubled his marketing budget the other day because he understands, like, okay, if this got me here, he tripled it. My man, I'm really proud of him. He tripled it. So if this got me this, if I just turn it up, it'll get me that, right? It's that simple, but you got to get through to the if this gets me this first. And even if it's just one watermark, right? One transaction, you know, okay, all of that took to this. So I can either turn this up or I can try to improve this so that I get it here instead. Now I've doubled without spending any extra money, right?
Yep. And it is truly like that focus on what you're trying to accomplish, right? Not just focusing on what you don't want. Like we've had that conversation recently. Like get the focus off of what you don't want, right? Like so many people are like, I don't want to waste money. I don't want to try and fail. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Like,
I don't want to lose status is what it is. I don't want to lose status. I don't want to look stupid because I tried something that didn't work. I mean, the conversation about the videos, the particular lady I was having that conversation with wasn't making the vlog videos, right? Which is something that she paid for with the program. And I'm trying to explain how important it is, right? People are afraid still sometimes to put themselves out there. But let me tell you, if you put yourself out there and you fail, at least you took a chance. Anybody who has something negative to say about that, I guarantee you they ain't taking a chance in their life. They're not putting themselves out there. They're not trying, right? I have failed so many times in so many different things. I just don't talk about it. You know what I mean?
You don't need to bring those up.
Yeah, I'm not making a public display of that necessarily, even though maybe I should because it's helpful. I'll give one right now. I created this postcard where it had this lady like looking, and I put on the headline was, "You think your home is worth what?" And I'm like, it was very off-putting, right? And so like I sent this thing out, and people were like, "Screw you," you know, like filling out the floor, like, "Who do you think you are?" And I was like, "Oh wow, that did not resonate in the way that I'd hoped." One of many failures, but I like to get the failure over with quickly so I can move on to the success, right?
But guess what? You know what? The cool thing is that however much money you lost doing that, you know, stuff that you've probably saved people, like just looking at marketing stuff and being able to be like, I wouldn't do it that way. Learn that the hard way. You know?
Absolutely. And I like the fact that we're able to help so many people. I mean, I saw, and I shared it with the All Office the other day, an agent posted in like a new real estate agent Facebook group that I'm a part of. He was like, I was thinking about sitting outside the coffee shop with a sign that said, "Free real estate agent for hire." And I was like, oh, bro. Like I tried innovative things that I thought would be, you know, interesting, what my mind could come up with before I understood marketing. And yeah, I mean, just another person that could use help, you know?
Right.
Which is why we do these podcasts and Facebook Lives. We just want to help for free, you know?
Yeah.
Great that we can help. Yeah.
Exactly. And the coolest thing, and I would say, just when you're looking at like the topic we're covering today, right? Like you've got all these consumers, like you don't have to figure stuff out on your own, right? There are so many people that are willing to help. Like I always talk to our clients, and I'm like, you don't realize the resource that you have. Like Mike has been where you've been and has done what you're trying to do. Like,
yeah,
I would try to extract as much as I possibly can. Like I'm especially as a client, like, but even people that just reach out to you, like we were talking about the other day, like I'm going to talk to a guy that you sent over that you met at the neighborhood pool that bought you here, right? That you ended up having like, I'm going to send you a disc test and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And you were like, genuinely, because you're just that kind of guy, but so many people, especially in real estate.
He was trying to find the direction in life, and I was like, "Well, you're a very personable guy. Have you ever considered staying in sales?" You know, and he's like, "No." I said, "I'll bet you're a natural salesperson. I'll send you a disc test." Yeah. He called me up a year later. He's like, "Hey, I'm still trying to." You know, he was going to join the Marines. He's like, they're saying dragging their feet. He's like, you know, I need to do something now, and you know, I thought about you again. I was like, we'll give it. See if it's fit.
But there's stuff that you do a lot that's just like giving back like that. Obviously, we do this, and anybody has access to be able to listen to this on the podcast and stuff.
Right.
And it's just literally like if you have something that you're trying to accomplish, or surround yourself with people.
Yeah.
That you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. Like 1,000% focus on that part, and it will help with things that come up, like people searching and how to deal with that, right? Like if you start getting an abundance of people that you're talking to that say, hey, I'm going to wait until this thing crashes, right? You should be able to respond to that the right way.
I want to make this point about your expertise as well, Jake, because I feel like it needs mention. But before I do, I was talking to another friend, and he said he was having a conversation with a customer who had lived in South Africa. And he said, I want to buy now because I'm afraid it will become like South Africa. And he's like, well, what happened in South Africa? I told you the story. He said, and I forget the numbers, so I'm just going to make them up. But essentially, he bought his house for like 200. He sold it a year later for 300. 3 years later, that guy sold it for over $1 million. And it just kept going up. And he's like, I'm afraid I won't be able to get in if I don't get in now. So there is the other side of that, right? I mean, with all the money they're printing, who knows what's going to happen? I'm sure somebody does. Probably not entirely, but they probably have some plans. What I wanted to say, Jake, was when I was young and trying to figure out marketing and trying to figure out how my competitors did what they did, I would have killed to be a fly on the wall, to be able to listen to their meetings, listen to their business, watch their trials and tribulations and lessons learned. And so the thing that about you is you've done that through so many real estate agents, right? Like you've been in those meetings, you've watched them go from, $50K a year in GCI to $500K to $5 million sometimes. And, that's just very, very valuable information to be able to say, hey, oh yeah, here's what this person did at this juncture that got them to here. Let's implement that now. And pardon me, for me, that's pretty much the only secret to any success, besides a lot of praying, that I've ever had, is I go and find the right person who's doing it the best that I can connect with, right? Maybe I can't connect with the best, maybe I connect with the second best. If I only get half as good as they are, I'm gonna be head and shoulders above my peers, right? And I keep coming back to the point for real estate agents in marketing. They don't know that they're in the business of marketing. They don't realize that. They think they're in the business of selling real estate. They think they're in the business of crossing the T's and dotting the I's. Those are just the requisites to be in to the business, right? It doesn't mean you're going to have success. The only reason why I've ever seen a real estate agent outcompete their peers is because they've understood marketing at a much more advanced level. Now, there is the old guard Methuselah method, the people who have been doing it for 50 years and now their name is everywhere. They're ubiquitous in their community, like they're just everywhere, right? But even those people can get dethroned, and because they didn't do it in a purposeful manner. They didn't understand, right? Like and keep up with the latest techniques. Warren Buffett reads, I forget however many hours a day, him and his partner Charlie Munger. And what he says is what worked 10 years ago is not what will work today. So if it stuck to the old strategies and I didn't study, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. And it's the same for real estate agents. Anyway, rant over. We're probably over time.
We're hitting 28 and a half minutes here. So
we're getting good at this.
Perfect. Yeah. So and to just piggyback there real quick, the constantly learning and changing, like technology has changed so much that I would almost get to the point where, like Reese used to talk about it all the time, it's never the best agent in a market that's the number one agent. It's the best marketer.
Oh, yeah. I've seen pushback on that from Facebook ads. People like, that's not true.
That's not true, right?
Yeah, and what number are you in your market?
And the top marketers, or the top agent in any market, is the one that can afford to spend the most on marketing. So, right. And I think that still rings true on the what you can. You can do things way more intentionally for a fraction of what it used to cost, right? Like with some of the stuff that we do for branding, that's just the new, much more ninja efficient way of keeping you top of mind.
Yeah, there's a lot of whiz-bang tricks, and that's for sure the way to do it. But let me just say this, like to keep it simple. What would you want someone to know about you prior to meeting with them if they were coming to meet with you to do business in the real estate industry, if they were buying a house or selling a house, what are the couple of things you would want them to know or perceive about you prior to you meeting with them that would make your job easier, make them like you, right? Make them trust you, and make them more apt to do business with you. That's essentially what we do for our customers. It's just a long tail strategy. It takes a little bit of time to gain traction. But once you got it, like you got the juice, right? It just doesn't go away. You know what I mean? It's there and it sticks.
Yeah. It's great when you can walk into somewhere and people know your name and you don't have to introduce yourself.
Right. What was it? When they use your first and last name. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Over. So, all right, man.
Okay, so listen, if you want some help with these things, as always, go to marketmakercall.com, check it out, see if it's available in your market, and if it is, set an appointment with us, and we'll walk you through it, see if it's a fit. Marketmaker.com.
Yeah. And as we always say here at Market Maker, you are always just one pre-position appointment away.
Funny finger. Every day. Make it a great day.
You haven't done that in a minute.
I know, right? Later.
Later. Go get it.